Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, have you had a chance to take roll?
I have taken roll. Everyone is present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move on to public hearing. We do have a public hearing notice up this evening, a public hearing to receive public comments regarding a grant of tax abatement for the construction of approximately 5,800 square foot commercial building at 910 Premier Drive. This is a public hearing portion only. So if you wish to speak for or against the proposed grant of tax abatement for the construction of the building at 910 Premier Drive, I'll have you come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then I will grant you the floor. Floor is open for public comment and input. I see nobody move here in person or in line, so I will close the floor for public comment and input. Is there anybody wishing to address their elected board under open public comments this evening? We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody on the board have any questions or items of discussion on the consent agenda this evening? If we can entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved as presented. First ordinance we have on the agenda this evening is a motion approving bill number 1, 2026, presented by our finance director, Stephanie Harris, an ordinance calling an election for the city of Kearney, Missouri. Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. This ordinance is being brought forward following the board's discussion and direction at the January 5th board meeting to place a ballot issue on the April 7th ballot for voter approval to issue revenue bonds. The ordinance has been prepared by our bond counsel due to the requirement of the specific language required by state statute. This question will give residents the opportunity to save an estimated $31 million in overall cost, or about $1 million per year, for the wastewater system improvements that must be completed to meet current regulatory standards, reduce the risk of system failures or enforcement actions, and to accommodate future growth. If anybody has any questions?
Any questions on the proposed ordinance? Okay, seeing none, if we can read the proposed ordinance first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance calling an election in the city of Kearney, Missouri.
I can make a motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance calling an election in the city of Kearney, Missouri.
So moved.
I'll second.
Pull the board, please.
Alderman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the ordinance is approved. Next item this evening is a motion approving bill number 2, 2026, presented by our Economic Development Director, Carolyn Yatsuk, an ordinance authorizing tax abatement for a project located in the city's enhanced enterprise zone to be undertaken by VPG1 LLC. Carolyn?
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor stated, before you this evening is an ordinance and abatement agreement authorizing tax abatement for a project located within the city's enhanced enterprise zone. Notice of tonight's public hearing was provided in accordance with state statute. The applicant is VPG1 LLC, operating as Hoffman Custom Homes. Jason Hoffman, the owner, is in attendance this evening. The project represents a $1.5 million capital investment for a 5,800 square foot building located at 910 Premier Drive, which will serve as the company's headquarters. The project will bring 12 jobs with anticipated growth and an average annual wage of $69,804. All required application materials are included in your packet. Pages 109 through 112 contain the building elevations and site plans. Bill Warren Bell ran a cost-benefit analysis, which begins on page 113. The first page of the CBA shows the project's assumptions, and the second page is the summary sheet, which specifies a 50% abatement over a 10-year term. with a total projected abatement of $166,084. The EEZ board met on January 8th and approved the Enhanced Enterprise Zone Board Resolution 2026-1, recommending approval of abatement to the I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions from the board to staff or the applicant or their representative this evening? Okay, if we could read the proposed ordinance, first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance authorizing tax abatement for a project located in the city's Enhanced Enterprise Zone to be undertaken by VPG1 LLC.
Move to approve on the first reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance authorizing tax abatement for a project located in the city's Enhanced Enterprise Zone to be undertaken by VPG1 LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Poll the board, please.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous and the ordinance is approved on the second reading. Mr. Hoffman, thank you for being here this evening, sir. Mr. Callagher, thank you for being here as well, and appreciate your investment into our community, and welcome to Kearney, sir. Yep. Next item this evening is a motion approving bill number 3, 2026, presented by Shelley Daniel, our Public Works Director. Shelley?
And thank you, Mayor and Board. Tonight, I'm introducing this ordinance to declare the public necessity of acquiring a temporary construction easement for the Mac Porter Trail shared use path. This ordinance grants the city the formal authority to negotiate with property owners for the necessary land interest to ensure the project stays on schedule. It specifically ensures that all offers are based on fair market appraisals and authorizes the legal steps required to secure the property for public use if needed. Additionally, I have provided a copy of attachment A that had been edited since the board packet was printed, but it was corrected.
Thank you. Are there any questions to staff on the proposed ordinance? Seeing no questions, if we can read the proposed ordinance on the first reading by title only.
An ordinance determining and declaring the necessity of acquiring for public use certain temporary construction easements in real property for public improvements associated with the establishment and construction of the Mac Porter Trail shared use path, authorizing the city administrator and designees to negotiate for the purpose of acquiring the necessary interests in real property, and authorizing the city attorney and designees to institute condemnation proceedings if such interests in real property cannot be acquired by purchase through good faith negotiations.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance determining and declaring the necessity of acquiring for public use certain temporary construction easements in real property for public improvements associated with the establishment and construction of the Mac Porter Trail shared use path, authorizing the city administrator and designees to negotiate for the purpose of acquiring the necessary interests in real property, and authorizing the city attorney and designees to institute condemnation proceedings if such interests in real property cannot be acquired by purchase through good faith negotiations.
Make a motion on the second read.
I'll second it.
Pull the board, please.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the board, the ordinance is approved. Next item is a motion approving bill number 4, 2026, presented by our Community Development Director, David Pavlich, an ordinance approving the Innovation Fort Platte Lot 7 site plan as submitted by Hoffman Custom Homes. David?
Yeah, this is kind of part 2 of the Hoffman Custom Homes night tonight. So they propose a 5,800 square foot building with associated improvements like parking lot, fencing, landscaping, things like that. Went to Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting last week, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended that the board approve the site plan.
Alderman Lehman, do you have anything to add as our P&Z liaison?
There was very little discussion on it, and it passed unanimously.
Great. Any questions from the board on the ordinance, or any last chance to ask the applicant or his representative any questions? If we could read the proposed ordinance, first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance approving the Innovation Fourth Plat, Lot 7 site plan as submitted by Hoffman Custom Homes.
Move to approve on first reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance approving the Innovation Fourth Plat, Lot 7 site plan as submitted by Hoffman Custom Homes.
Make a motion to approve on second reading. I'll second that.
Pull the board, please.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the ordinance is approved. Thank you guys for being here. We have no resolutions this evening. We'll move on to items for review and presentation. The first item this evening is our water and wastewater cost recovery rate study results presented by HDR.
Yes, Josiah is here, Mayor, to, I don't know if you remember him from a couple weeks.
Welcome back, Josiah. Had so much fun, you just had to come back and see us again.
Exactly. Thank you for having me.
Couldn't stay away.
So we're coming back with some refined results to look at tonight. Not much different, but as we go through the process of budgeting and things like that, we're updating from what we showed in December. Where do I?
Is it working? You might point over here. Not working?
I can tell you that it's
Yeah, just let me know how. There we go.
moving forward.
David,
So-
can you make sure you share your screen for online?
Yeah, let me share, sorry. Let me back out too. Am I doing it right, everybody? Yeah, here we go. Well, let's see if I can, now if I can.
He's gonna turn it over. Let me see if I can get it. This slideshow.
Okay, hopefully that did it. And then I'm the advanced, right?
All right. So just a reminder, when we conduct a rate study, we're looking at recovering the full cost to provide service for water and sewer service within the city. And so we want to consider the cost to operate and maintain the system. We look at the day-to-day costs through the budget and the capital considerations, how we need to invest in the system to make sure that we have service for the customers. We use industry manuals to help guide that analysis for each utility. The Water Environment Federation Manual of Practice number 27 is for wastewater. That's the lower picture there. And then the upper picture is the M1 manual from American Water Works Association. And these manuals give us some methodologies and approaches that we use to accumulate costs and then look at how we can appropriately plan for the future through capital investment and strong financial planning criteria that we look at, such as adequate reserve balances or debt service coverage ratios, and then making sure we're using the latest and greatest as far as rate structures for appropriately charging customers for how they utilize the services. So some key drivers in this study: aging infrastructure and deferred maintenance. This is pretty common in a lot of rate studies that we are doing now and recently. So as systems are aging, the funding from either the federal government, which is how a lot of these assets were put in place, as far as especially large treatment plant assets back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Those funding sources have changed and are not at the level they were previously. And so over the last 10 to 15 years, we've needed to increase rates to fund those deficiencies for those larger assets, as well as the pipes. And expanding in growth is another factor. We need to make sure we have adequate capacity for the current customers as well as future customers so that new customers can continue to join the system if they wish. Key inputs, the 26 budget we used to start, and then the preliminary 2027 budget, again, refined slightly from December, but by and large, the same as we showed there. The capital funding, as we mentioned a lot, the December meeting, especially on wastewater, there's significant investments we need to make in the system to make sure that we're providing a high level of service. So for water, we're looking at about $5.5 million over the next 9 years. And that's primarily from available resources we have through rates and through a little bit of reserves that are existing. So that's a pay-as-you-go approach. We're not anticipating additional long-term debt for the water utility. On sewer, we do have some more significant upgrades, particularly to the treatment plant, as well as some on the collection system. And so we are anticipating the issuance of around $55 million of debt for that. And that will set us up for, again, meeting regulatory requirements in the future, as well as any capacity constraints that we have currently. So this is the summary of the capital funding plan. So we've identified those projects through planning, renewal and replacement of existing infrastructure. And again, these are all funded through existing rates and reserves that we have. And the proposed rates that we are bringing forward tonight and show you are supporting these capital projects. So there is, again, no long-term debt service that we're anticipating for water. This slide shows the summary of our total costs. So the dark gray shaded area is our O&M, or operations and maintenance expenses. We get this from the budget, and that's our materials and supplies, salaries, benefits, all of those sorts of costs. And we base it on the fiscal year 26 and 7 budgets, and then we escalate it into the future based on inflationary factors so that we can keep pace with our anticipated inflation of costs. We add in the blue area, that is the debt service that we have. Again, nothing further on water that we're anticipating. The gray or the green shaded area is the rate funded capital. That's the component that goes towards funding our annual capital. Again, that is completely funding those capital projects within water. And the solid line there is our current level of revenue for the water utility. And what you can see as we go out over time is that our expenses are over what our revenues are. And so we have some deficiencies. Those yellow bars are uses of reserves to cover those deficiencies. So you can see short term, we have some deficiencies based on the capital investments we need to make. And so we're funding through reserves. What we're proposing is that level of revenue represented by the dashed line, and that covers our costs over the long term. And then we start to also replenish those reserves that we've used up in the out years there, 29 through 31.
Josiah, can we?
Yes.
So I understand how you use the historical numbers to project for 28 through 31, but it sounds like you used the same revenue numbers for 26 all the way through, or was a revenue number adjusted the same?
So
basically what I'm getting at there is I want to make sure that we're not overstating expenses and understating income, right?
Yeah, so the solid line is basically revenues at our current level with no proposed rate adjustments. So if we didn't make any changes to rates, that's what our revenues would be. The dashed line is what the new rates would produce. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So for sewer, a similar discussion as far as the summary slide here, but this shows, again, in green there, our long-term debt assumptions. So funding the treatment plant upgrades as well as some collection system improvements, and the timing over the next 3 years, and funding that through the SRF, which is on the ballot in April. So what that would do, again, we have the dark gray area, that's our O&M expenses. And the blue area, you can see then as we issue debt in 28, 9, 30, we'll be paying interest only if SRF loans are utilized for that until the debt hits. And then the full debt is out in 2030 after we've completed the project. And so we are proposing that dashed line to match that cost that we have, because what we'll need to demonstrate is the ability for sewer rates to cover those costs that we're anticipating. So that's the primary driver on the sewer side, is that large level of debt service that we're going to be taking on. To glance at our cash reserves, so again, we're utilizing some short-term to help us transition the rates over time, but we do want to plan on replenishing those. And so that dashed line there represents an industry target that we often use, which is 90 days of operations and maintenance expenses. And this is primarily a cash flow metric to make sure that we have adequate reserves to meet our expenses that are coming on as we incur costs for providing service. What you can see is, again, we're just utilizing those reserves, and then we're working towards that target. And ideally, we would be meeting that. Again, we wanted to be careful to not impact rates too much, and so we are using reserves strategically for that. But then just outside this window, we took it out 10 years for sake of making sure we can hit that metric until we get up to that line. And that also allows us to have reserves available for emergencies or catastrophic failures as well on the system. The proposed rates for water, we're maintaining the current structure on the fixed side. And then on the volumetric side, we're cleaning it up. We'll show it in a couple slides here in the table, but moving from a couple tiers on the water side to a uniform rate. So this should help the customers hopefully understand their bill a little bit better and clarify once you get over the first 1,000, which is included in your minimum, then anything over that, each unit is at a uniform rate, where currently there is a couple different rates. On the sewer side, again, the fixed charge and the minimum for the first 1,000 is unchanged from the current structure. And then the volume charge, we are going to, again, a volumetric over the first 1,000. And we have, for residential customers, an option to be charged on their winter water average. So this would help customers that might utilize more water outside, either for irrigation or other purposes. And so what it does is it creates a more levelized bill for those customers. The overall bill will likely be very similar as to someone with all volume billed and a lower peak, which is what we typically look at as their peak summer usage. And so this will be an option for customers to help them control their bill, as well as, use their usage to lower their costs if they so choose. This is a table showing the proposed rates for water. As I mentioned, the meter charge is the first component for the fixed charge piece. We have a charge by meter size. So we look at the capacity of water that goes through the lines. Obviously, a larger line can have more potential capacity. And so we use industry manuals to look at that as well. So that's why those charges increase the larger the size is. And that recoups our fixed cost for the system, because we do have to have the system there in case those customers utilize water. And we maintain the current senior discount of $4, so that is shown at the bottom of that as well. For the volumetric charge, the present rates is the first column on the left. You can see the first 1,000 is included in the minimum, and that is maintained across the next 5 years. But as you go down to the 1,000 to 2,000, currently that's $10.07, and then 2,000 and over is $11.31. And so we thought it would help clarify things if we merge those together. And it's basically an average unit rate for that, for the water. And this includes the rate adjustment to produce the revenue, that dash line that we were looking at from the revenue requirements summary slide. For sewer, again, the fixed charges mirror water, and so we're looking at the potential capacity based on that meter. We're maintaining those relationships across the 5-year projected period, as well as the senior discount. The minimum, the first 1,000 gallons, again, maintained, so customers pay that as part of the fixed charge, and they get the first 1,000 gallons included. And then a similar change as to water, where we're removing the second 1,000 gallon essentially, and then over 2,000 gallon tier, and moving towards all customers would be charged uniformly over 1,000 gallons. And then the option for being billed on winter water use is shown right below that. And so customers would be able to, in the residential customer class, choose the winter water average billing method if they wanted to. So we showed this graph on the 15th last month, so we just updated it based on the proposed rates. You can see the present rates currently there, and then the proposed in green. We do bump up a little bit, but still very affordable and on the lower end of this graph. And this is at 3,500 gallons a month for water and sewer combined. And so just to wrap up, also I wanted to mention, we talked about the savings, around $30 million, just over $30 million if we can go with the SRF program, over $1 million per year that would save the sewer utility. So, we just want to keep getting that message out so that the public, when they vote, can have be fully aware of the benefit of these programs, because as you can see, it would be $108 million under a bonding scenario rather than $77 million if we can get the vote approved. And that is all my slides. I'll open up Mayor for any, you can go back or any questions.
Great, thanks, Josiah. Does anybody have any questions on the updated presentation this evening?
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work and for joining us again. Appreciate it. Next item this evening is our December monthly financial report presented by our Finance Director, Stephanie Harris.
Thank you. In your board packet, you have the financial statements for the 9 months ending December 31st, which is 75% way through our fiscal year. Reviewing these numbers, the only items I noted of significance are historically we have received property tax or a portion of our property tax receipts in the month of December, but this year, because of the late billings that went out at the county and the extension for payment, our receipts, the city's receipts of those property tax bills has been delayed. So we have received a little bit, but not as much as we normally would have at this time of year. In addition, our sales tax continues to be lower than our previous years by approximately 2%, 2 to 3%. That's the only thing that's probably the most, unless you guys have questions.
Thank you for that report. Does anybody on the board have any questions on the financial report included in our packet for December? Thank you kindly. Move on to Mayor's Communications. I do not have anything specific to go over this evening, so I'll turn it over to the City Administrator for the report.
At the dais is the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget, and David's gonna try to share the voiceover and presentation that I did.
Skipped over that, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Your prized budget, I'm sorry.
She worked.
for that update. Sheila said it's been a long process, another challenging budget process, but I do appreciate Sheila and all staff's time. I've met with department heads and Sheila individually. I've met with Sheila many a times to get to this point, and appreciate everybody's collective work in making those tough decisions and putting forth a draft document for the board to consider at our next meeting. So thank you guys for all that. We'll move on to Alderman discussion. Alderman King.
I don't have anything to
Right. Alderman Spencer.
Nothing.
Alderman Holt.
Nothing.
Alderman Lehman.
I have nothing.
We do have an executive session noticed up this evening, a closed session per RSMO 610-021, subsection 1 for legal actions or litigation involving a public governmental body in any confidential or privileged communication between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. RSMO 610-021, subsection 2, the leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration. Therefore, and RSMO 610-021, subsection 12, to discuss matters pertaining to negotiated contracts. Our meeting will be adjourned from the closed session, so this does conclude our open public portion of the meeting. If we can if we could consider a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Pull the board, please.
Alderman Spencer. Aye. Alderman King.
Aye.
Alderman Holt. Alderman Lehman.
The vote is unanimous, and we will enter into executive session. Thanks for being here. Everybody have a good night.